Guys, I hope you are well. You got Mr. Everything English, and today we are doing a very important video. Creative writing, creative writing, creative writing. This one question is worth 50% of your GCSEs. Now you might think creative writing is super easy because since year 3, everyone's been writing stories. But this is not a story writing competition. This is an English language GCSE exam. There's a big difference. And AQA, the exam board, they are not interested in reading the world's most exciting story. They want to see if you as a student have mechanically put in everything they expect in your answer that they expect as an exam board. Now in this video, guys, in about maybe a minute or so, I'm going to put up on the screen a grade 8 answer. And together, I'm going to show you how AQA marked it. And you will see firsthand what they expect for your exam and for your answer to reach a grade 8. Now, this is a real paper, and this is the work of a real student who received 37 out of 40, which is a grade 8. Now, guys, over here, this is everything that AQA marks you upon. So you have audience, purpose, vocab, devices, structure, sentence, punctuation, and spelling. Now these two are not important because these two are not our concern. This here is the mark scheme. The first thing you're marked upon, guys, is have you written in the correct tone to match the audience. Have you written, guys, the correct tone to match the audience? So your school or college is asking students to contribute some creative writing for its website. So who's our audience? Our audience are people who visit the school website. So our tone must match for that particular audience. Purpose. Have you answered the question? Write a story about a magical world as suggested by this picture. And this is the answer that we're looking at today. Have you answered the question? Then you have these 6 different points. And these are the important ones. This is where our marks are. The first important thing, guys, that AQA look for is have you got ambitious vocabulary? Meaning, have you used really big words? The second thing is, have you used lots of language devices? Lots of good quality language devices. Third thing, guys, is structural devices. Long paragraph, short paragraph, foreshadowing, flashback. Fourth is have you got a range of sentences, long and short. Then, guys, have you got a range of punctuation? So commas and full stops is a given, but have you got exclamation mark, speech mark, question mark, brackets, ellipses? And finally, guys, is your spelling on point, or are you making spelling mistakes the entire essay? Now the response, guys, that we're going to be looking at is response number 7. Now guys, I hope you're able to see the screen. I could have zoomed in a little bit more, but I would like you all to have the answer and the mark scheme side by side. Now first things first, guys, let's read the answer and then we'll look at what AQA has marked it for. White, pure, uninterrupted white. The white snow stretched beyond the horizon, an infinite sea of wonder and magnificence. She wondered if the sea ever ended or if it was infinite. She began to walk, savoring the soft and crisp crunch of fresh snow that accompanied each footstep. She noticed a tree to her right. A maze of twisting and angular branches swarmed each other. It seemed an unseen force had decorated the tree with snow. It now resembled icing sugar that a child would greedily dump onto the fresh pancakes on a morning before school. She made her way over to a nearby pond. This place was frozen in time. The flowers had a thin layer of frost preserving them, keeping the beauty alive for all to see. A robin fluttered by her head and landed on the ice. It whistled a little tune to itself as if it were a musical genius, crafting and shaping the music as it desired. She answered back with a whistle of her own and took a step towards the robin, onto the ice. Her foot lingered over the ice. Mother always told her not to step on ice. That was one of the few things she remembered. Other things had begun to fade, like snow that waits too long to leave and is shepherded away by the new spring. She stared down at her reflection in the ice, observing the childlike wonder in her eyes. That wonder had also begun to fade. She placed one foot on the ice. Nothing. No crack or crunch to be heard. She took another step. Now both her feet were on the ice. Her life in the hands of the ice. She cautiously shuffled towards the robin, who still sat watching on the ice. She was less than an arm's length away from the robin now. She began to stretch out her hand until she heard it. Crack! The sound she had been dreading. It was quiet, as if she wasn't hearing it. Like this was a dream and she could just wake up, but it was real. She took slow and deliberate steps now. She didn't savor the crunch that these steps made. She was petrified of them. She turned her head like an owl to see if salvation was in sight. But the shore lay far away. Nothing had ever felt further away. Time and space operated differently here. Crunch. The ice began to crumble beneath. She began to run. She could hear it catching up to her. Her hopes and dreams cascading into the waters below. Her only hope was a final dive into the shore. Crash. She arose and twisted to observe the damage. She created a scar in the pond, but what shocked her the most was what lay in the scar, a robin. It was writhing uncontrollably in the perilous waters, begging for salvation from its impending doom. But hope was lost and she watched in horror and awe as the writhing subsided. She had killed the robin. She had murdered innocence, purity, and true beauty in a living form, and she had to live with that for the rest of her life. Okay guys, for this answer, AQA gave the student 37 out of 40. 37 out of 40. I'm now going to highlight the key so you can see what AQA and where AQA awarded marks for this particular student. Okay, now this is what AQA said about this student. They said, guys, that for vocabulary, this student has used some good vocabulary. They've highlighted where the student has said things like the uninterrupted white, the magnificence, the crafting and the shaping, the musical genius. According to AQA, these words were used in a fantastic context. And because they were used in a fantastic context, AQA said that they deserve the mark for vocabulary. Then for language devices, they picked out this part as having the best language devices. Now guys, it doesn't mean they haven't used language devices in other places, but this is where AQA loved it the most. Other things had begun to fade, like snow that waits too long to leave and is shepherded away by the new spring. She stared down at her reflection in the ice, observing the childlike wonder in her eyes. That wonder had also begun to fade. Guys, excellent symbolism, excellent metaphors, excellent similes, excellent juxtaposition. Those 2.5 lines have fantastic use of language devices. So far guys, tick for vocabulary, tick for devices. Now structure. For structure guys, AQA picked out these short sentences where they've said crack, crunch and crash. And I agree. By using 3 one-word paragraphs, the writer most definitely gets the mark for structure. Now, when it comes to sentences, they picked out this part here. And they said that this student has used a range of long and short sentences for effect. So we start off, guys, with a short sentence, and then we move on to 2 longer sentences. So far, guys, tick, 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 and tick. Then we move on to punctuation. And AQA said that in particular, they liked the use of the semicolon right there. And they highlighted that as the best use of punctuation. Now guys, remember, a semicolon is used to connect 2 clauses together. And finally guys, when it came to spelling, AQA highlighted this sentence here. And it has the word writhing, uncontrollably, perilous, salvation and impending. And because these difficult words were spelled correctly, AQA argued that this is the best example of spelling in the entire essay. Now guys, I have to keep stressing this. This doesn't mean that these are the only language devices or spelling or vocabulary that's been used, but these are the best examples according to the exam board that have been used. And this is why this student, guys, received 37 out of 40. Now, one thing I want you to really understand is how to get a high mark you have to write like almost a robot, where mechanically every single paragraph, every single part of writing has good vocabulary, has good language devices, has good structure, has good spelling, over and over and over and over again. Now you might be asking, how come this student didn't receive 38 or 39? How come they didn't touch a grade 9? Now guys, in my opinion, this student did not receive a grade 9 simply because of their ambitious vocabulary. They did not have enough throughout the entire piece. If you look at the mark scheme to reach that top band, that is what you need a lot of throughout your writing. Now guys, I want to end it here, and I want to end it by looking at this over here. Guys, I want to end it by looking at what you see on your screen, and that is this key over here. This is what AQA look for in your creative writing. So don't get lost in trying to write a Harry Potter book. Please stick to what AQA want. And this is how they will be marking your work. And this is what you will be marked for. So whether you're doing mock exams or your real GCSE exams, when the time comes in your exam, you must switch it on, and you must never forget this. Do not get lost in trying to write a story. Instead, get lost in trying to write a story that has everything that the exam board expect. Alright guys, it's been Mr. Everything English. Peace.